everybody, it's Mike. I'm back to talk more about Hare Krishna, this dangerous cult. I got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of stuff to show you. So we'll go right to it. Here, let's see. Okay, and let's get rid of this. And let's do this.
Hello?
Hello.
All right, hey, I'm back, and hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Afila, hi, thanks for being here. Eliana, thanks for joining. Good evening, everybody. Wow. So, if you've been watching my videos, at any time, I'm always talking about Prabhupada's talking about when he was he was 22 when his wife was 11 years old. So that's something that I've always mentioned. It was a big issue when I found out about it because the official story was somehow the story was that he was 16 and his wife was 13 and they got married and then they didn't have sex until they were both of age. Some story. I don't know where that story comes from. But I remember hearing it or reading it in a book, Prabhupada, something. But then years later, yeah, that in itself is disgusting. I mean, the whole arranged marriage, child marriage, arranged marriage thing. Okay, I understand. Maybe hundreds of years ago, maybe even 100 years. I know. It's not that uncommon, even in American history, on the prairies and in the colonial days, they got wives were on the younger side. I don't know about 11. 11, I don't know about 11. But, 16, 17, maybe 15, back then, that was... if people only lived to be 30, 15 was middle-aged. So I can understand, you're getting started out early because, life is short. So, but by 1890s, 1900s, no, it's a different world. Hey, Rafael, good afternoon there. Good to see you. So, but regardless of when and where, child marriage is not something that we should be encouraging or we should be practicing or, just even giving it the time of day. I mean, not in today's modern world of women's liberation and equality and children's rights, all of that. There's no child labor laws. But even in America, in some countries, child marriage, like 13 and 14 years old, is still legal. And there's a lot of movements to correct that. But unfortunately, in some areas in the civilized world, child marriage is still, still practiced. So. But again, 11 years old, I don't know. I don't know if 11 years old is there. I don't know if there's anywhere in the world where 11 years old is an age of consent. That's just I don't know. But I do what I do want to do is I want to actually play this audio, and so you can hear for yourself Prabhupada talking and Prabhupada saying exactly what he says. You can hear it for yourself. So let's see if we can get this to play. I sure hope it works. It looks like it's going to work.
That is the beginning. Janmadasya. These professional reciters, they read Bhagavad, they jump over immediately to the face. The 10th canto is described as the face of Krishna. So, you cannot go immediately to the face. You must begin from the feet. First canto, second canto. Therefore, there are 9 cantos, and then 10th canto. And the Krishna's last dance, that is the smiling of Krishna. So, you cannot ask the superior to take the facility of his smiling. Smiling he will be when he is pleased. The difficulty is that the Mayavadi philosophy, they do not accept the form of the Lord. And they do not know how to behave with the form. Of course, there is no difference between Krishna's face and Krishna's feet. There is no difference. But still, the system must be followed. Pada Sevana. It is very important one. Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu, though when one has heard, when one has properly chanted.
Okay, I don't know if everyone can hear. I hope the sound is coming across. It might be a little hard to understand. I know if you're not used to listening to Prabhupada, it's hard to understand what he's saying. But you can always go back and listen to it. If you're familiar with Prabhupada and you're familiar with his accent and the way he speaks, it's not hard to hear what he's saying. But he's about to talk about when he was 22 years old and his wife was 11 years old. And here we go.
He has little experience of the transcendental form of the Lord, then his service beginning. Just like I engage one servant. So gradually he is given service. First of all this, first of all that, then again and again. The same example can be given. There's a husband and wife. Formerly, when I was married, my wife was 11 years old. So, and from 11 years old girl, and I was at the same time 21, 22. One day I captured her hand, she began to cry. Little girl, you see. So.
Okay, so he's talking about you have to gradually, you learn something over time, you explain something, you a little bit you learn. And he says, just like the example can be given husband and wife. When I was formerly when I was married, my wife was 11 and I was 22, and one day I captured her hand. So some devotees, they want to argue with me and they want to say, well, you know, that's not what he means. Well, what does he mean? What's he talking about? I think it's pretty clear what he's talking about. Okay, he goes on. Let's see, there's just one more little thing where he's.
Oh, gradually. I know when my brother-in-law, sister's husband used to come, in the beginning, the girls were my sisters were the same age. So they would meet the husband offering a little pan or little sandal.
So, yeah, he's saying, you know, Even, my brother-in-law, the girls were very young. My sisters were the same age, 11 years old, and their husbands, they would meet their husbands. So, but what he's saying when he laughs, when he says, I captured her hand. One day I captured her hand. So she's an 11-year-old girl. He's a 22-year-old man. It's his wife, or his arranged wife. And he says, so one day I captured her hand. So what does that mean? And then he says she started to cry. So and then he laughs again and says, a little girl, you see, so gradually. So what he's saying is, I was 22, she was 11. So one day I had to do it. I had to grab her hand. I had to take her. We had to do it. And in the beginning, and she cried. She was a little girl and she cried. But gradually, over time, she stopped crying. That's basically what he's saying. She learned to just not cry when he had sex with her. I mean, that's basically what he's saying. And I don't mean to be, I'm not trying to be like, I'm cleaning it up. I could be much dirtier than that. But, I can understand what he's saying. He doesn't want to be, he's not always like, hey, I banged my 11-year-old girl, and she didn't know what I was doing, but I took her in there, and then she started crying. No, he's pretty tactfully and tastefully, if you want to call it that, explaining that his wife was 11 and he was 22, and one day, that honeymoon day, he doesn't say, one day I took her and I banged her. No, he's saying one day I captured her hand. I captured her hand. Are we all on the same page? Do we know what I'm saying? I captured her hand, everybody. And then he and then he says so, and he kind of laughs, he kind of chuckles, and I captured her hand. What can I do? I had to do it. It's my wife. She's 11. I'm 22. And she cries a little bit, she began to cry, she's a little girl. So he's trying to be in this disgusting, in his mind, he's trying to clean it up and use it as an example of something. I don't know what. Of how you gradually learn. I guess he's saying you can learn transcendental knowledge the same way my wife learned to, at 11, she learned to, whatever. I don't know. I guess that's what he's trying to say. Now, if any of these Hare Krishna devotees or any of these other freaks can explain to me what he's saying, because if he's just grabbing her by the hand one day and saying, hey, come on, I want to show you something in the other room, why would she cry? What's the crying for? And what's the point of the story? If he's just ordinarily holding her hand, like they holding hands, what's the point of this story? The story makes no sense. Because I'm sure they hold hands all the time. But no, this day, and he doesn't say he doesn't say one day I held her hand. Because then, that would be, we might be confused by that. One day I held her hand. He says, one day I captured her hand. He took her virginity. He took her. He captured her hand. Not her hand, but he captured her yin yang. That's what he's saying. There's no other way to explain it. If you try to explain it as anything other than what I'm saying, it has no meaning. What, he was just holding her hand? Why he's explaining to Dr. Ghosh how you learn something, how you go from worshiping Krishna's feet to his face. You don't start at his face, although he says he does say that his face and his feet are non-different. Krishna's feet and face are the same. But he says regardless, uh, regardless, he says you start at the feet and then you gradually move up to Krishna's face. So we start worshiping his feet and we move up. We gradually move up to Krishna's face. And in the same way, just like my wife was 11, and I don't know how in his demented mind this is a great metaphor or a great analogy, but in Prabhupada's demented mind, he's saying, just like when I had sex with my 11-year-old wife and I was 22. What he's trying to say is, she didn't know what she was doing, but gradually over time she learned how to have sex. That's what basically that's what he's saying. There's no other way this conversation makes sense. What does holding her hand have to do with gradually learning how to love Krishna from his feet to his face? And if there's a Hare Krishna out there that can explain it to me, I'd be come right ahead. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's freaking crystal clear. It's 22 years old. I think it is crystal clear. And I'm not trying to be, they want to call me the demon because I'm pointing this out, but this is Prabhupada saying it. This is in the Veda base. This is Prabhupada saying it. They recorded it. This is all on you. Morning Walk, April 12th, 1974, Bombay. Why? They're hateful of me when I say, well, what about this quote where Prabhupada says, and they get upset. They go, well, you're a demon, you're evil. Why would you post something like that? That's horrible that you would. What's horrible? I thought it was nectar coming out of the lips of the pure devotee. So that's what I say. That's what I said. That's what I said. The day I found this quote, I remember the day I found this quote. And I don't even know how I found it. I was just browsing through the it wasn't the Veda base online, but it was like the Veda base on a CD-ROM. This was back in like 2012. And I come across this conversation and I'm like, what? But it explains everything. It explains everything. Explains why Prabhupada would put in his books in the first canto that young girls must be married. Girls at least by 16 must be married to 25-year-old men. Well, gee, is it just a coincidence that your wife was 11 and you were 22? And now you put in the Bhagavatam that is a must? And then you put in there about how women shouldn't have independence. They have to be, he says right here. So in the same conversation, he says, so these things are required. If actually the same thing, that if a girl is married to the husband, she must always be engaged in service of the husband. He says the real purpose of marriage is to get children. So if the husband and wife simply love within the mind and there is no action, there is no prayojana siddhi. We should be practical, not simply theoretical. So love between two persons, there must be exchange of loving feelings. These are the exchange of loving feelings. Unless the exchange loving feelings are there, that is not love. That is theoretical. That is not practical. So Prabhupada says there can't be love without children. Otherwise, it's just theoretical. It's not practical. It's not real. And yet he failed at his marriage. I mean, his marriage was a disaster. And I'm going to get into it. Prabhupada being the marriage counselor when his marriage and family was a complete failure. He rapes his wife when he's 22. She's 11 years old. Well, no wonder she hated him. She sold his books for some tea. And I wondered right off the bat, like, how come she wasn't a devotee? How come she wasn't with him in this worldwide preaching thing? I mean, even Tammy Faye Baker was with Jim Baker. Even Jimmy Swagger's wife is with. I mean, all these characters have. Probably had a wife, and he couldn't convince her that he was a pure devotee. The one person in the world that is supposed to love him more than anybody, and she didn't love him that much. That she didn't love him that much that she thought that he was a pure devotee. I guess, I don't know. He says all these things about women, girls, not women, girls. Well, he says after 11 years old they're women. That's why guys like Dhamma and all these guys are like, yeah, Prabhupada is fine for it's fine that Prabhupada had an 11-year-old wife. That's no problem. Because in the early days, all these old timers, they all knew that they could get a young wife that these young girls were available to. It's disgusting. So naturally, this character, this Dhamma character, is going to be defending Prabhupada's 11-year-old bride to me and telling me I'm wrong. You don't know what you're talking about, Prabhu. You don't know what you're talking about. So after 20 years of being a Hare Krishna chanting, doing all this stuff, all these trips to India, doing all of these things, initiation and all of that, reading all this stuff, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't think 11-year-old girls should be married to 22-year-old men. Shouldn't be forced on them. Now I'm offensive, and I'm committing guru aparad, and I'm just all of these horrible things. But that's why these guys can molest little girls and get away with it. But to speak of little boys, I mean, we didn't have to bring up the little boys. According to the Vedas, the best age for marriage is 17, and 25. Well, no, that's not what Prabhupada says. I mean, I don't really, I'm not going to argue with what the Vedas say because I'm not going to learn Sanskrit so I can read it. That's not something I'm going to do. But according to Prabhupada, 11-year-old gopis make the best. So if you are into Chaitanya Leela and all of this stuff, and Gopi Leela, and learning who you are as an 11-year-old girl, so Krishna can have sex with you, and you can have your Rasika Bhava, Rasika Leela, whatever, and do all that. You're a pretty weird person if that's what you're into. It's just, and forcing women to be married, that women should not be independent at any time in their life, that they must be married at 11 or 12, and then they have to be subordinate to their husbands or their father-in-law or their son-in-law, and they never don't even need to go to school or learn anything. They shouldn't have any positions of authority. They shouldn't be trusted. That there's 3 things that you can beat: a dog, a drum, and a woman. That men can just use women. If you can't be a brahmachari, well, then get married. Just go grab a wife and just go have sex. And then when you're done with her, you can just toss her to the side and take sannyas and go off and be a preacher and just leave her behind. Because you're going to leave her behind at 50 when you become a vanaprastha. So in either way, the wife is just something that you use and throw away. And that's like the Taliban. That's the same attitude that the Taliban has. Women have no independence. Women don't get to choose their destiny in life, what they want to do, whether they want to get married or not, what age they get married, what they can do with their life. What does this freak have to say? Whatever. You know what? You're a brainwashed Hare Krishna. You need to just listen, learn, and maybe one day you'll get out of this stupid cult. That's what you need to do. I'm glad you're here because maybe one day, you'll wake up and come to your senses and figure out that, yeah, probably not the best example for a saint. Well, I really don't even think, anyone should have anything to, anyone can be considered a saint. It's probably involved with ISKCON when his marriage was arranged. What kind of question is that? If you don't know the history of ISKCON, man, I don't even know how you ended up here. That's a pretty weird question. Prabhupada is ISKCON. Anything Prabhupada did was ISKCON, if you want to look at it that way. Prabhupada didn't have to get married at 20. Prabhupada didn't have to take an 11-year wife. He could have said, I'm not getting married. I'm not doing whatever I'm doing. And for Prabhupada to put that bullshit in his books about how the gopis were 11 years old and some of them had husbands and they were breastfeeding and all this crap. Yeah, even Lord Rama's mother was a great warrior and went to an only girl, Gurukula. Yeah, that's all in your fantasy world. I don't buy into your fantasy world. I don't buy into these stories about millions and millions of years ago or even 5,000 years ago. I just don't. So I understand what he's saying. Well, then you're a brainwashed friggin' cult freak too. Amazing how folks can be brainwashed into thinking that Srila Prabhupada is holy. No difference in the Taliban. Yeah, for these, and but they're in here, so they're hearing the truth. They're actually hearing the truth. So I'm glad that they're here. Someone to say, I understand what Prabhupada is saying. They're a brainwashed cult freak. You got to be brainwashed to say, I understand what Prabhupada is saying. So look at this. According to the Upanishad, a woman's job is to steer her husband's life to the right direction. Yeah, and that is some misogynistic, sexist bullshit. It's not a woman's job to do anything. It's not a woman's job to get married. It's not a woman's job to take care of a man. It's not a woman's job to do anything like that. That is some freak cult mentality. And if you want to start talking about caveman stories and books from 1,000 years ago that somehow are supposed to be relevant in today's world, I mean, you're just a brainwashed freak. You're a brainwashed freak. You got to get back to reality, man. There's no demon head eating the moon. During an eclipse, there's no demon head eating the moon. There's no four-headed guy growing out of on a lotus flower, out of the navel of a four-armed guy laying on a snake. It's just not happening. Lord, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not walk into a statue. He didn't do it. You got to get over this superstitious stuff. You got to get over these superstitious beliefs and these caveman stories. You got to step into the real world, man. You got to get out of that Prabhupada loop and this, the Vedas, 5,000 years, and just all this nonsense, man. You've gotta friggin' wake up. Yeah, and the corruption with Gora Hari Das too. He's cheating people just like everybody else. Gora Hari Das is cheating all you people. And you sit there and act like, and it's all Emperor's new clothes. Because I know that the Emperor has no clothes. And I watch that shit and I see these guys on the internet, what are these guys' named? Or do that stupid podcast, Wisdom of the Sages, talking the same bullshit. It's like ancient alien shit. It's like watching and I know you Hare Krishnas, you believe in all of that stuff. You believe in lizard people and outer space people and a guy floating between planets playing a guitar. You believe in all of that stuff. And guys walking into statues and statues walking 4,000 miles, but there's no record of it happening anywhere except in your caveman storybook. It blows my mind that you guys can be so wrapped up in this cult and believe stuff without any common sense, logic, what to speak of history or archaeology or anything like that. Just use your common sense. That you can't even use your common sense. What to speak of scientific? I mean, if you don't have the ability to use your common sense when you're reading this crap, you're not going to believe scientific evidence or archaeological evidence or historical evidence. You're just not going to believe it. You're going to believe some guy that had an 11-year-old wife and was doing snuff and was writing these books in some hallucinatory snuff session. That's what you believe. You believe his friggin' fantastical, delusional fantasies about 5,000-year-old this and 10,000-year golden age of that, and Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, and all of this stuff that you believe all of that, but you won't believe archaeological evidence. You go, oh, Krishna put that in the rock just to fool you. Oh, Krishna put the bones in the rock to fool us, but yet he couldn't come down and save his children from being molested in his goddamn schools. How fucking stupid are you? Oh, Krishna covers your vision so you can't see. Well, I can see all the people that committed suicide due to the trauma that this fucking cult causes, including Gaudiya Math people being killed and assassinated, and Ananta Vasudev being poisoned, and his wife or kid, whatever, being killed. That's no different than Kirtananda killing Salochan's kid. Or Jayatirtha getting his head chopped off for having sex with some... It's the same shit. And they want to act like the Gaudiya Math or something else, like, oh, there's some reason why. No, it's a fucking cult. You guys are fucking insane. That's why. It doesn't matter if it's Chris Butler in Hawaii or friggin' Paramedwady or whatever in South America and in Peru or wherever the fuck he is. Or some idiot in friggin' Russia, Indradyumna Swami in Poland. Or some ding dong in Patna, India, or Bangalore, Madhu Pandit, or Tatvadar. I mean, God, it blows my mind. It friggin' blows my mind. Do you still have faith in God? Are you an atheist? What difference does it make? I'm not. This isn't about me. This is about you being in a fucking cult. I mean, get it through your fucking head, man. I mean, I don't know what to say. You know, I've said everything I have to say about your. I already did a video about your freak guru Goridas. What makes your sangha so important? You know, I'm gonna finally stand up and say, "Do you know who the fuck I am?" I don't need to listen to him or anybody in your group. What are they gonna teach me? What are they gonna say to me? The fuck? You can click on the blue restream link and fuck you and fuck your group. You're a bunch of fucking brainwashed, giggling, crying. Oh, and then they saw the statue of Sakshi Gopal like a friggin' blubbering, blithering fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. He's got you guys reading stories and fucking acting like friggin' carnival clowns. You guys think you're in some kind of ecstasy or some kind of transcendental, I don't know what, man. I don't know what he's feeding you. Well, I know what he's feeding you. He's feeding you a bunch of crap. If he's got the balls, have him come in here and I'll rip him a new fucking a-hole right here in front of my audience. I'm not going to your fucking group. Have his fucking dumbass come in here. I don't know. She can't see the words or something. I don't care. Just stupid. No, I'm not. You don't understand. I'm not going into your. First of all, if I go into your group, as soon as I say something, you're gonna kick me out. It is stupid. Tell your friggin' guru to come in here, and I'll rip him a new a-hole in here. What is he gonna say to me? And what am I gonna say to him? I'm gonna say you're full of shit. Your books are full of shit. All your everything that you base this shit on is lies and crap. And what the fuck good is that? And he's gonna get pissed off and go, "Oh, you're just an operati. This conversation is over," and then it's done. So why are you bugging me? If he has balls, have him come in here. But he doesn't have any balls. Have him come in here. No, he wants to sit around with a bunch of giggling, blithering idiots that think he's fucking God on earth. And because Prabhupada came to him in a friggin' dream and told him, you need to teach Chaitanya Leela. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Prabhupada came to him in a dream and now he's Srila Goridas? I know these people, these Krishnas, man, lying to them is important if it gets their point, achieves their goal. It's the ends justify the means. If I have to lie to you and lie to you and lie to you to get you to do what I want, to take a book, to give a donation, they don't have any problem with that. If they have to lie to keep this guy out of jail because he molested my daughter, they'll do it. They'll lie. They'll go, oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's been a member of the community for blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I came to your sangha and I asked you some questions. about whether you guys read Prabhupada's books. I wanted to know who you were. I didn't know who you were. And you guys kicked me out, got pissed off, and kicked me out because I posted Prabhupada's quote. So evidently, you guys love Prabhupada. You don't like the idea that Prabhupada had sex with an 11-year-old girl when he was 22. And your Goridas, this Prabhupada pedophile, comes to Goridas in a dream and tells him to keep doing what he's doing. The fuck is that? Like, I want anything to do with Goridas. If Prabhupada's coming to him in a dream, I don't want anything to do with this guy. Prabhupada created this whole fucking disaster. He wrote some of the worst shit, put it in his books, and brainwashed you people into reading it, and me too, into reading it and distributing it. And I feel like shit for it, but you're still all gung-ho. So that's on you. I'm trying to get people out of this cult. You want to try and get me into it. No, you want to try and get me into it, and I'm not having it. So pretty much I'm just gonna ignore you from now on. Just gonna ignore you from now. So anyway, so that was Prabhupada voice. You could hear him. What did he say? I watched this Hari freak few videos, absolute madness, blind leading a blind, typical coaching. Yeah, it's like, and you know what, Raphael, seriously, I thought guys like him, I thought those guys were done. I didn't think there were guys like him around with this bullshit. But it just goes to show you, anybody can do that shit. I could do it too. I swear I could do it too. I could do it in a heartbeat because it wouldn't take me much. But just listening to Prabhupada talking and all that shit was like PTSD. It was like trauma coming back. It was like just hearing the lecture, hearing him talking, about Krishna and Shravanam Kirtanam and blah, blah, blah. And just hearing that shit. It was really, it was, I have to admit, it was bringing back, it was giving me really creepy vibes. And, I don't need to go into their group where they're all together in a group and just being all creepy and weird. I don't need that. They need to come here so they can get out of that. They need to hear what I have to say. I don't need to hear what they have to say. I heard that shit for 20 fucking years. The same shit over and over about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. The whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. I've read every book. That's what I'm saying. This Goridas, this Andromeda Palazzo or whatever, Pazolozzo or whatever. She thinks Goridas has got he's a guru, right? Like he's somebody that she should, or he or she, whatever, should go and listen to and get association from. And he thinks he's somebody because he says probably came to him in a dream, right? To think that it's that this guy, what has he got? I'm going to ask you again. What do you think that he knows that I don't know? I've been to the Radhakunda. I seen those Babajis there. I did my prayers there. I've been initiated into the Sampradaya. I've done parikrama around Vrindavan. I don't know how many fucking times. I've done so many swahas and thrown so much rice into fire sacrifices. Chanted 16 rounds for I don't know 20 friggin' years. read every book there is, watched every video there is. I subtitled Prabhupada videos. I studied his videos. Literally, word for word, because when you're subtitling, you got to do it word for word and make sure every single word is right. I did that for like 2 years. I've had dinner with gurus, with ISKCON leaders. I've been to their house. I've been to their temples. I worked at ITV. My daughter was in the school in LA. Been to India like, I don't know how many, like countless times to India. Reading and studying. What do you think that he knows that I don't know? Seriously, what is it? I'm going to ask you one more time. What does he know that I don't know? What is it that you think he knows that I don't know? That I need to go listen to him. Tell me. You're able to type and put all this other crap up there. Tell me in one sentence, what does he know that I don't? I mean, I don't sit here and act like I'm a guru, because I'm not. But if you're going to sit here and badger me to go join this motherfucker's chat because you think he's got some transcendental knowledge, tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. Is it 20 years, 30 years in the cult? Does he chant 64 rounds a day? Does he see Krishna face to face? Does Lord Chaitanya come down and dance with him in kirtan? What is it? Does his Shalagram Shila talk to him? Shakshi Gopal walk around behind his back, and when he doesn't hear the tinkling, the bells, he turns around and looks. What does Gauri Das, fucking Srila Gauri Das, know? That you got to sit there at his feet and listen to him. What is he doing for you? What knowledge is he injecting into your brain? Tell us all, enlighten us all with the glories of this Gauri Hari Das. We're all just waiting to hear how he just floats across the floor and's got this transcendental vision, and he can see past, present, and future. He knows the intimate pastimes of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. Can't tell me. Jai Patak can't even chant one round of Maha Mantra. I saw him mumbling. These guys, even if they're fully, look at Naranjan and Trivikram. You think they're chanting 16 rounds? You think Naranjan is really chanting 16 rounds a day? That's the whole reason why he's taking a break, is because he's not following the regular principles. If he was doing everything right, be no problem. But no, he's stressed out. Why is he stressed out? He doesn't want to get him. These guys, how many of these guys have come admitted, oh, I'm not chanting my rounds? Tamal Krishna and all these guys. I can chant my rounds. It's the same old, same old. Let me see what this person says. Maybe there are things you could share with our Sangha that we aren't aware of. All I'm asking is, nope, I'm a civilized conversation with our Sangha. Your Sangha is a bunch of cult freaks. Why would I want to go in there? You got to come in here and hear this. This is what you got to hear. What you think that you're inviting me in so I can deprogram you guys in your group? You really think that? You think I'm stupid? You think I'm stupid that I'm going to come into your group and start to deprogram you, and you guys are going to be like, oh, yay, great, thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming in here and talking all this stuff. Now we're not going to be Hare Krishnas anymore. And yeah, you're right, Mike. Thanks a lot for coming in. I mean, what the hell do you think is going to happen? What do you think? Just makes me sad when people can't actually discuss things. I'm discussing it. If you're a bogus guru, cheater, scammer guru wants to come in here and speak with me, he can come in. Nothing's stopping him. Nothing's stopping you. You're in here bitching and moaning. So he can come in here and bitch and moan too. I don't give a fuck. Like I said, who the fuck is he? He could have been in here by now. And you're full of shit. You don't want to actually discuss this shit. Don't love bomb me. I don't give a fuck if you love me or not. I don't care if you fucking love me. I don't care if you fucking hate me. I don't give a shit. like this fucking stupid shit, man. So this is and this is typical of what you get with these calls is the love bombing and the I love you and you're so fortunate and we just want you to come and share with us, and it's all this cult shit. I mean, everybody can see that this person is nuts, except this person. This person is sitting there going, yeah, I'm really getting them now. I got all caps on, and I'm just gonna now I'm gonna tell him I still love him. Like we don't see we don't see what's going on with this person. But they don't. We see it, but they don't. Sips chai. Oops. Yeah, I love going and having. I have no hate in my heart, Mike. Well, maybe that's the problem. See, maybe you should hate some of these child molesters and some of these gurus that ruin people's lives. Lives like Jagji Vaughn, who he didn't have to commit suicide over this stupid cult because he was homosexual, and this cult is like homosexuality is mental and evil and demonic. I hate those teachings. I hate the atmosphere and what caused him to commit suicide. He was such a nice guy. He was a Hare Krishna, but he was a nice guy. I mean, he was. And Janardana. These guys committed suicide over this cult. They ended their lives over this cult. Over this shit that's in these books. Over the shit that this fucker said about being 22 and having sex with an 11-year-old wife. And how women have small brains. And women are 9 times lustier than men. And women like to be raped. And black people are ugly and they belong in the jungle. I hate hearing that shit. And I hate the sin, not the sinner. Well, where's the sin coming from? The sin doesn't independently exist without someone committing it. The fuck's wrong with you? So so what you're telling me is that when a man molests a little girl or a little boy, you hate the act, but you don't hate the guy that did it? Is that what you're saying? You hate that it happened, but you don't hate the guy that did it. You don't hate the rapist. You hate the rape. That's what you're saying. I hate the sinner. I hate the sin, not the sinner. So I don't blame the person. I just blame what they did. What are you, stupid? Why do we have punishment for people then? Why do we have punishment? Why do we have prisons full of people that did crimes? If we're not supposed to hate the sinner, if we're not supposed to put the sinner in jail, we're supposed to just put the sin in jail. Like we can put the sin, like the sin exists independent of the person that commits it. It's, they will, these cult people will come up with they'll grab at any straw they can to defend this cult. Well, I agree with the cult, but the people that are in the cult that are doing it. No, it's the cult that's doing it. The people are the cult. The people are the cult. You think all that child molestation happened and nobody did it? Is that what you think? You really think that? Vishnu John as well. I lost friends at the Hare Krishna. Took out $5 million. Yeah, I remember when he took off. I remember when a bunch of gurus bounced. I remember when Hare Krishna bounced. I remember when a bunch of them bounced. It's Vishnu John. And how many others that we don't even know? Oh, I'll tell you a story. So there was this devotee at the LA temple. His name was oh God, I don't even remember his name now. He was a little guy, little short guy. He had kind of a big attitude and a little body. His name was Punyatma, and he was a Prabhupada disciple, and he was in the Marines. So he was like this little short Marine guy, and he thought he was the enforcer at the LA temple, a little Punyatma guy. But these guys are so messed up in the head, that even, this cult has done nothing for them. It's like I said, it chews you up and spits you out. A lot of these guys get chewed up and spit out 1, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. But a lot of them, they get chewed up, but they don't get spit out. They just get chewed up, and they end up staying. And then they end up like this guy that runs that webpage, bitching about everything, but he's not doing anything, and he's just a freak. And Punyatma was like that. He couldn't live in the temple because he wasn't, following. He couldn't live in the temple. But he was always around the temple, and his kids were in the temple, and his wife, I don't know. But he was like homeless. And he lived like across the street from the LA temple, like in the park, or in some, he would sleep on somebody's couch. And I don't know exactly his situation because I didn't know him that well. But his daughter went to school with my daughter, so I knew him. He was another parent of the school. I think it was his daughter, and his sister was married to one of my friends. So I would see him all the time. But he was like a homeless guy who was he lived on the street for a while, and then he would live somewhere in a van. I don't know what his situation was. But he didn't have a residence where he just he didn't have like a job and a house. He didn't have like a job and a house and was just a normal, steady person. He was like a street guy. And messed up in the head. Like everybody else, messed up in the head, and he ended up. Last thing that happened to him was he'd been in the movement he was a Prabhupada disciple, been in the movement for 40 years, 50 years, and he was living in some rundown crack house, apartment, like a hotel, Like it was a hotel, but it was like a crack house. And I'm not saying he was a crackhead. I'm just saying he lived in this crack house type place. And it burned down. It burned down one day. And he died. He was in it when it burned down. Really sad. And it was near my house in LA. And I saw that the building was on fire, and I was like, "Oh, that building! I know that building. I didn't know he lived there." I saw the building, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's horrible!" The whole building was horrible. And then because my daughter knew the kids in the school she contacted me and said, "Dad, Punyatma was in that building, and he died in that building." And now the cult didn't kill him, and it wasn't like direct, but it just, I feel like the cult robbed him of his life. It robbed him of being something, of having a home and a family and a job. It 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 robbed him of that. And maybe maybe some of you don't agree with me. You don't have to. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of Hare Krishnas like that live in a van in front of the temple, or they live in a van on the street around the corner from the temple. I know a bunch of guys like that. The guy that lived in the van, and the city came and towed his truck away. And the temple was like, sorry. And he'd lived there for 20 years. He'd lived there since the very beginning, I think he probably lived there before it was a temple. He lived there forever. He was like a fixture of the LA temple. Subhuti. His name was Subhuti. And he was another nice guy. He was one of these recluse guys that just lived in a van. But the van was on temple property. And the city came and said, we're confiscating the van. And he ended up doing suicide by cop. He walked into the police department with a gun, and they shot him. They shot him. And I directly relate that to the LA temple, because they pretty much just kicked him out. They said, "Oh, they took your van, so now you got nowhere to live." And he's like, "What do you mean I got nowhere to live?" So there's a lot of guys like that, like Punya and Subhuti and these other guys that are just living on the street. Just and it's because of this cult. It's because of this cult. My old roommate. So I had a job. I worked for American Express. I worked for Viking River Cruises. I worked for some big companies like that. And I always had a job. But I was always, it was like, I was a Hare Krishna though. I was shaved up, the whole thing. But I had a job. I always had a job. My roommate, all he knew how to do was drive a taxi, because he didn't know he's older than me. He didn't know how to do anything because he'd been a Hare Krishna since he was 18 years old. And he's like 50 something years old. And now he's not in the temple. He doesn't know how to. The only thing he knows how to do is drive a taxi. Drive a taxi, maybe wash dishes. He's got no skills. There's a bunch of guys like that around LA. Been a Hare Krishna for 45 years. They never had a job. Because for the first 10, 15 years of their lives, they were Hare Krishnas. And then when their guru fell down, or whatever happened, and they just did whatever, then they just hustled their way around life without getting a job. And if they had to do anything, it was, drive a taxi, do security, be a security guard, stand around with a vest on, or drive a car around the city. Do things like that. or just be homeless. There was a whole community that lived across the street from the LA Temple. They lived across the street from the LA Temple, and they were just outcasts, and they were Hare Krishnas, but they were just like outcasts. They were pot smokers and beer drinkers, but they just lived and slept over behind a building in the alley, whatever they was doing. Care. Can't get away. Can't get away from the temple. Can't get away from this brainwashing. Just can't get away from it. Just mentally trapped. Jagjivan would rather kill himself than leave this cult. He could have just walked away from the cult. He could have just said, hey, I'm gay. I'm a 50-year-old gay man, and I want to have gay relationship with a man. I want to fall in love with a man. I want to have a relationship with a man. I always want to do it. I've been 40 years in this cult, and I can't be me. No, he couldn't walk away and do that. Probably because he didn't know he'd been in a cult for 45 years. He didn't have a job. He wouldn't have been. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know how he would support himself. I don't know. So he kills himself. That is directly related to this cult. 100%. The cult caused mental illness or whatever, manic, bipolar, whatever it is you want to call it, and then he killed himself. Janardana too. Janardana. I don't have to look too far. My sis and her hubby were in ISKCON, and even though they left like me many years ago, but till today they're selling paintings, folks carrying scars throughout their lives. Yeah, that's what yeah, exactly. That's what a lot of guys at the LA Temple were doing. They years of selling books and doing Sankirtan and just going around and selling books to people and learning how to do like a one-on-one, I can sell stuff. And then they just went from selling books to selling stickers, or selling then stickers to hats. And then it wasn't even Hare Krishna stuff. It was like, I can sell anything, because you can't. If you can sell a hat, you can sell a shoe. If you can sell a shoe, you can sell a handbag. It doesn't matter. So these guys, they learn how to go out and sell books, flowers, and just panhandle. And they learned the art of it, of walking up to somebody on the street. That's the number one thing, is just having the balls to walk up to somebody and going, hey, I don't mean to bug you, but check this book out, or, check out this keychain I got. They're $10. I got them for $5. They're $10, but I got them for $5. There's an art to that. And once you learn how to do that, it doesn't matter what the product is. So the Hare Krishnas that were out there day after day after day, year after year after year, and bringing in new people and teaching them how to do it. What they did was they created a whole army of fast talking, street selling scammers who could sell anything. If you can sell a Krishna book, if you can lie to sell a Krishna book and go, hey, this is 5,000-year-old scriptures, and John Lennon and the Beatles and all that shit, and you're talking about, hey, I got no hair, but I like your haircut, I wish I could do that. Hey, I just want to talk. It's all just sales shit. So they learned how to do that, and like this guy up in Sacramento, he started selling paintings, like your what was it, your sister and her hubby. He started selling paintings. He made millions of dollars selling paintings and frames, because he learned how to go around and sell shit, and he just kept doing it. And then now he's got. I went to his house in Sacramento. And this guy has got this huge mansion, and one whole floor of his mansion is a temple with Prabhupada and the deities, full-size deities, full-size Prabhupada. And his whole house is kind of like a temple. He's got all these Krishna paintings, all these big, nice paintings everywhere, because that's how he made money, selling paintings to temples and to whatever he did. Fucking guy's loaded with money, selling a Krishna. I think he's selling frames. I'm not sure. I think he's a frame guy. I think he sells frames. He sells frames, but they all started out selling Krishna stuff, and that's I never sold Krishna stuff. I sold everything else. I sold non-Krishna stuff. I used to sell stuff on the street. I've been in sales. I was doing phone sales and customer service, so I know all the techniques on how to talk to people, and I recognize it right off the bat with the Hare Krishnas. The selling, the techniques of selling, especially these guys have been doing it forever. These guys are pushing the shopping carts around Costco. They're pushing shopping carts around Costco with a box full of books because they know how to do it, and they do it. If people who don't know how to do it, I'm going to get a book and I'm going to go to Costco, and you don't know how to do it, it's going to be it's not going to be, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. But Brigupati, guy's been doing it for 60 years, and all these other guys have been doing it forever. They've got it down. They got it down. It's no big deal. It's no big deal for them. So anyway, I think I've talked enough for today. I'm definitely not going into Gora Hari's chat or his live stream because there's no point. I'm not there to learn anything. If he wants to come into my chat, he's more than welcome. He can come in and chat. Anybody else can come in and chat too. Any bogus guru can come in and chat. But I know they don't want to, and I don't blame them because there's nothing for us to talk about. It's not a debate. There's no exchange of ideas. You guys are scammers, and you're bogus, and you're full of shit, and your teachings are dangerous, and your books are scum, and that's it. There's nothing really to discuss. So that's where we stand. So but I did want to get the Prabhupada quote out there. I wanted to get it out there. I wanted to get it on my channel, on my video, because if ISKCON decides they want to take it down, they're going to remove it and pretend like he never said that and it doesn't exist, then we all have, we have a record of it. And so that was important for me to get that out there. So I'm glad you all joined me today. I want to thank you all for joining the show. Please like, share, and subscribe. I want to thank all the new subscribers out there. My subscribers are going up and my views are going up, so I want to thank everybody for that. That's really exciting to know that more and more people are getting the word on this dangerous cult and everything about it. So I want to thank you all for supporting my efforts and my endeavor here. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day, great night, great morning, great afternoon, wherever you are, and have some great luck, and stay out of a cult. Bye.